Hey everyone, today's guest is Ravi Agrawal, who is the Director of Growth at the product called Privado ID, formerly known as Polygon ID, part of Polygon Labs. How are you today, Ravi?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. So today's topic is all about self-sovereign identity, what that means, and how you guys have come up with a solution for that and so that users can take control of their identities. So first off, Ravi, I just wanted to ask what a day in the life looks like for you at Polygon.
Yeah, I think, with Web3, there have been always very, very interesting things going around you. So I would say, day at Polygon is sometime talking to ecosystem projects, trying with some initiatives that the founder wants to drive, or otherwise typically trying to build the ecosystem around our solution. So it's always going to be busy, except the sometime avoiding the noise from crypto Twitter.
All right, so let's talk about Privado ID. This used to be called Polygon ID. The name recently changed and it launched a couple years ago. Privado means private in Spanish, so it's basically private ID, and it's all about users controlling their online and digital presences. So Ravi, can you just explain to me a little bit more about how you guys have come up, like what are the unique selling points of this product?
Sure. I think, the whole idea is that we all have been hearing and seeing that internet has been evolved without an identity layer on top of it. And that is where the team behind Privado has been working very actively, trying to add that layer of identity. And this is following the principle of self-sovereign identity, SSI. And we wanted to ensure that we bring in all the privacy element that can be bringing back the control to the users for their identity and their control. There are, few very key differentiating parameters, or I would say functions, that we have added into Privado ID. Some of them include how can we generate a zero knowledge proof right from the user device that makes it easy for a user to generate a ZK proof and share that information with the verifier so that the privacy is intact, the data is not leaving the user wallet, and it's only the proof that goes out. Additionally, we are also coming up with very interesting features, which is including the on-chain verification, payment rails, and others. I think the whole idea is how can we make identity simpler and better?
All right. So then what are the main use cases that you envision users using Privado ID for? Like, is it mainly for proving humanity or for doing KYC procedures? Or what other main use cases do you envision?
Sure. I think personally, I feel that identity is a layer, which is like an horizontal that cut across all of the verticals, right? Whether it is healthcare, insurance, education, finance, everywhere a user needs to be authenticated. There has to be some verification that needs to be done for the user. The services would be granted based upon a user reputation, and all of that required some kind of a user verification. Now, many a times identity is typically confused or mixed up with only the KYC aspect, which is just one of the use case. Identity is much more broader. There are so many dimensions under which we can imagine identity. Proof of uniqueness, where especially in Web3, a user can create n number of wallets, and then they can try to be unfair in terms of their reward distribution. Airdrops is a typical example. How can we bring more unique users? And that is another, very important use case that we are working with. Recently, it has been announced in collaboration with Virax, who have included proof of uniqueness into their solution. The next one is obviously the KYC, which is a bigger use case, and then there are various dimensions. If somebody is able to do a reusable KYC, there can be many attributes that we can also take out from KYC. For example, if we need to verify just the age of a user, it can be extracted from a KYC. If we need to verify the residency of a user or maybe a gender of a user, all of those attributes can be taken out from the KYC, and there can be very interesting downstream use cases that can come up.
Okay, so when you talk about proof of humanity, that makes me think of WorldCoin and the orb device that they have. I did it actually last year. I scanned my iris and it proved that I was a human, not that I was doubting it, but but it was an interesting experience. So I'm just curious what you think about these other types of products and projects compared to Privado ID.
Yeah, I think our approach is quite different. There, I mean, with the WorldCoin, we believe that the data is being stored centrally by one particular entity. However, from our perspective, we always wanted to give control back to the users, and Privado ID provides up the infrastructure or a protocol layer, and we really don't store anything that belongs to user. And this is where user have full control in terms of their own data, and it is not like an honeypot where the user data is being centrally stored in some way.
Okay, so what does that mean exactly, that the user has control over their data? Like, does it mean that we just choose what to make public, what to share?
Yeah, so maybe I can give you an example that would give you a better perspective of how a user journey look like, right? So maybe sticking to the proof of humanity use case. Let's say a user is going to play a game, and a game wanted to ensure that it's a real user and not just a bot. And that's where they would demand that prove me you are a human. And this is more like a question and answer format, right? So the gaming website is asking user when they connect their wallet that prove me you are a human. And at that time, user is actually trying to get a credential for proof of humanity. We are working with several issuers in this case. For example, let's consider Synapse as one of our partner. And at this point in time, users say that, okay, I'm a first time user. I don't have this kind of a credential, but I would click a few buttons in order to get that credential from Synapse. Synapse does a biometric check where they would do a liveliness test for a user, say blink your eyes, move your head up and down, that showcase that it's a liveliness test done with the help of a biometric thing, and they generate a proof of humanity for the user, which user is now able to store in their identity wallet. And they can generate a proof from this wallet, send it back to the gaming website. It literally take 30 odd seconds for the end-to-end process to get completed, and this is a credential now which is stored in the user identity wallet. Now, next time, let's consider that the same user is going on a SocialFi website and they need to again prove that they are human. It would take a user just a couple click in order to verify that yes, they are human and submit the proof again to a SocialFi website. So this is a reusable credential that a user once get into the wallet, user have a control to whom he or she has to share it. And at the same time, it is shared in the form of a zero knowledge proof to ensure the privacy.
Okay, so you're basically just connecting your Privado ID wallet to whatever site you want to access. Gotcha. Okay.
And I think this is where we also take a pride, because this is not a wallet that typically a user would download and it would be another wallet to maintain, but it can be runtime created as a web wallet using an identifier. So for example, if you are Web3 users and you are using MetaMask, for example, the moment you connect MetaMask with this verifier and you need to prove this credential, this web wallet get created associated to your MetaMask keys. And that is where you don't really need to install any application and you continue with the same journey without any user experience friction.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That makes it a lot easier for the user. All right, and then, so you mentioned a few partnerships that you have already, but who else are you working with? I understand that there's some partnerships with banks that have already started to use this tool.
Yeah, I think you would hear more names, but the ones that are in public at the moment, where we are working with, let's say the existing large financial institutions like HSBC, we have also announced integration with Transact, which is one of the leading on-ramp, off-ramp provider in Web3 space, Virax and Linea, which is consensus-based L2. So there are quite a few large partners that we have recently announced, but there is a whole list of partners that we have previously onboarded. Those are available on our marketplace website. So please go have a look at marketplace.privado.it.
All right, now, Ravi, how does your personal and professional experience in the Web3 industry kind of shape your views and approach to this idea of self-sovereign identity and digital identities?
Yeah, I think, with Web3, I believe in the last few years, we have been building infrastructure. There have been a lot of uplift in terms of where we have started where it was Ethereum, which was, trying to create a TPFs of roughly around 20. But then with the kind of applications that we are bringing in, the growth in the user base that we are seeing in, there has been a lot of uptick in terms of bringing scalability to the Ethereum. And in last few years, what we have seen is that the scalability is reaching to a decent level where, a decent application can take benefit of the growth in the TPS. There are interesting bridges, oracles, wallets that have come in the infrastructure and tooling side. So what it looks like is now the market is getting ready, where we are now coming up with better infrastructure, better tooling, and better scaling solutions. Now it's a time where we would be able to bring in more users with interesting application, and that's where looks like identity is gonna be one of the basic entry point for many of those application, and we are bullish on that.
Yes, definitely. And are there any other narratives or topics that you're also personally very interested in addition to, of course, self-sovereign identity?
Yeah, I think my personal favorite is the growth in the AI space, and there are very interesting areas where AI is going to be leveraging the decentralized technology, and in fact, decentralized technology would also be benefiting from AI. So that sounds very interesting. I think the concept in terms of personal agents, AI agents coming and bringing in efficiencies across various things that we do. I mean, at least I'm using 4 AI agents at the moment for different purposes for my productivity gain. But I'm sure that it would enter into our lives without we knowing it too much, and they would become part of us, like the way we use many devices today, whether it is the smartwatch or the smartphones and the likes. But I'm sure that with AI agent coming in again, there are going to be challenges that potentially we might have to be also aware, whether it is the challenges related to deepfake or maybe data integrity and things like that. And again, that goes back in terms of how we can bring in more identity in order to ensure that when we are talking about the trusted data consumption from the AI perspective, we are actually getting what we are expecting to get.
Do you ever envision a future maybe where it's going to be very difficult to prove bots versus humans? Like, is that why we need to focus so much on this proof of humanity? Is there that much of a risk of us being overcome by bots and robots?
Yeah, I think that, bots at times are not always bad, but there are use cases under which we should be getting bots, and they should not be becoming the mainstream, especially when there are, areas where we might not have to have bot versus human kind of competition coming in, scenarios like reward distribution, right? So I feel that yes, there are going to be interesting areas where we need to eliminate bots, and it's going to be not an easy challenge. I think there are solutions that are out in the space which can be outpaced by Gen AI, and we might have to be always innovative, creative, and also combining it multiple technologies in order to ensure that we can bring the best, and even we might use AI to defect AI.
Yeah, yeah, imagine that. Well, as artificial intelligence, emerging tech, Web3 technology all becomes more and more interlinked, we shall see, I guess, our everyday lives becoming a little bit more automated, but hopefully it's for the better. All right, now, Ravi, what else can we expect in the near future, the next coming months, from Privado ID and from Polygon?
Yeah, I think there are very interesting things that we have been working on. Looks like even the regulators across the different jurisdictions, they are coming up with the identity frameworks and guidelines in order to ensure that user privacy has been intact. There are secure ways of communication of this PII information. And one of the recent example is how MICA in Europe is coming out and ensuring that everybody in European region should get an identity wallet. So I think from our perspective, we are very bullish in terms of seeing how this kind of a top-down approach from the regulators bring in the mass user adoption. And this kind of technology is certainly going to be simplifying the control of user, the ownership of their own data in their own hands. And we are looking across different verticals. Some of them are forward thinker. Some of this vertical are forward thinker in terms of the adoption of this innovative technology. We are actively trying to see how we can ensure that our solution get adopted in those verticals.
Yeah, definitely. Having that regulatory clarity is a really important part of it all. All right, now, Ravi, what is the best way for one of our viewers to get in touch with you if they have any questions?
Sure. Yeah, I think I'm fairly accessible on Twitter, LinkedIn, and my handle remains same on both the platform, which is Ravikant Agrawal. That's RAVIKANT AGRAWAL.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Ravi, so much for your time today and about teaching me a little bit more about self-sovereign identity and Privado ID.
Thank you for having me. It was an interesting conversation. Thank you.
Yeah. And everyone, thank you for tuning into this episode of Crypto TV and this conversation with Ravi Agrawal from Privado ID, formerly known as Polygon ID. Make sure to reach out to him if you have any questions and check out this neat tool. And I'll see you guys next week.